Good afternoon. I am Dr. Durafly, alias Dr. Chudley on the forums. On this very wet and rainy afternoon, I've decided to film some aspects of my Durafly Mark IIa Spitfire. But those who recognise this plane, it is in fact modelled as a Mark IIa. The Mark IIa didn't have many differences. Due to having better fuel available, the boost pressure was raised, and with the extra power they had to fit a larger diameter propeller with wider chord blade. Sponsored by the Observer Corps, EBZ. I used the same, got that combination of letters from the Hobby King graphics supplied with the model. He's had 4 flights now, all successful with rising rate flaps to ensure positive flap positioning at full flap, and with modified control movements to avoid adverse yaw and to prevent tip stalling at low airspeeds. Up to now she's rock steady. The only other physical modification I've made is to cut away some of the wheel door flaps covers because I fly off grass, and when the grass catches that's a bit awkward, so that is for practical purposes. Well, thank you very much. I will turn the model over and show you the other details of this model. Well, here is the model upside down on my modified keyboard stand, which I pulled out of a skip, King of the Skip Divers, with some straps, webbing straps, and some pipe insulation to mount it on. Very handy when working on foam models, especially my Lancaster. Anyway, as I said, the wheel door covers have been raised because we fly off grass and makes life a lot easier. The radiator has had the rear doors opened to allow the air to pass through to avoid any restriction, and you will see the flaps have been altered to provide a rising rate linkage. Both flaps have been altered, and also the ailerons. If you look here, the servo horn is moved forwards and it's right on the innermost hole, and here as well, right forward and outboard there. I will show you the movements from my multiplex Rawplo 7 transmitter. So we'll drop the wheels out of the way. That's nicely done, no problems, and I'll engage the flaps. And you will see the flaps here have a lot more leverage, about double the leverage at the full 89 degrees flap movement. On the multiplex you can slow the servos down, and full flaps again. These full flaps work exactly as intended on the full size. Lots of drag and the amount of lift to give steep approaches, quite steep approaches without building up excess speed. And the ailerons, that is up, that is down on the aileron. You will see. Now this provides a roll rate of about 200 degrees a second. That's about the same as the full-size Spitfire. And that rate, it's about 360 degrees a second. If you look closely, full rate and 75% rate. I upped the rate from 60 to 75 because on full flap at lower landing speeds, the ailerons got a little bit woolly, less responsive, so I use more aileron. And the elevators doesn't need much. That's all the elevator you need. Maximum amount for all manoeuvres. only use that much elevator if you need to do spins or taxiing. Only use that much elevator when I'm taxiing. There, that's just for taxi. So showing the ailerons, that's maximum off, maximum down. 60-40% mix, and showing the elevator 75%, and that's all the amount I use, and that amount of rudder is fine. I only use full rudder and full elevator when I'm taxiing. This is the multiplex 12" by 8 3-bladed propeller I use, and you will see I've had to modify the nose weight and add a spacer. I will take it apart and show you the build-up. This is the standard spinner, and you will see a hole I've drilled to balance the spinner. The inside of the spinner is also taken away where necessary to balance the spinner. To fit the multiplex propeller, the hole in the back, this has a hexagon in the back of the propeller, and it's necessary to turn up an aluminium spacer disc which actually fits the hexagon like that, in the exact fit in the hexagon in the multiplex propeller, and the hole in the middle is also larger. So on a lathe the nut is turned away, and a larger stainless steel washer is fitted exactly 8mm, and this spigots into the front of the propeller, and it all fits and flies very nicely. The first two test flights of this Spitfire, I used the Overlander 22 milliamp 2200 milliamp battery that was 60C that I normally use for my other Mark 24 Spitfire and Corsair. It was okay, flew very nicely with the standard propeller. When I fitted the multiplex propeller, I decided to use the Carnegie bolt, which is 65 to 130C, high voltage, but this is only charged to normal 11.1 volts. But the power improvement is noticeable, probably another 5-10% power through the flight, and after a flight the battery is barely warm, and the flying time is better than with the lower capacity battery. So I'm happy with both Carnegie bolt batteries for the improvement in flying performance during the flight. Squadron leader Finlay's Spitfire was sponsored by the Observer Corps, with the insignia and the lettering reproduced as accurately as reasonable possible at 1/10 scale, and has a real model pilot in the cockpit. If I try and get in there, and the reflections, you will see he's got quite a reasonable Spitfire instrument panel. Yeah, here is the other shot of his instrument panel, and quite reasonable cockpit with a rudimentary deflection gun sight fitted as well.